When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
You may think you know McDonald's drinks, but you don't know them like this. From fruity refreshers like the strawberry watermelon refresher and the mango pineapple refresher with popping boba, to crafted sodas like the Sprite Berry Blast with berry flavored Sprite topped with cold foam. Who knew ice cold drinks could be so fire? 6 all-new drinks are here. Try them all now at McDonald's. Refreshers contain caffeine.
The Box of Oddities.
Last night we had a big thunderstorm here in Orlando and the power went out. In order to try to keep myself from getting depressed, because it kind of triggered me after all those rolling blackouts that we lived through in Ecuador, I got to think, well, I'm going to look at this as a positive. What is a good way? What is a way that our ancestors used to entertain themselves when they didn't have electricity? So we went to Target, which was fun. And they had the emergency lights on and a couple of cashiers working.
It was a little spooky. For some reason, it made me feel like I was shopping in the county.
She's referring to the Aroostook County, the largest county in the state of Maine, the entire top of the state, where everything is dimly lit.
I guess that's what it was. I'm not sure. But
It felt to me like a zombie apocalypse.
It did feel that way a little bit. And when you walked in, they were like, hey, there's some things that aren't available right now. The pharmacy's not available and the freezer section isn't available. And I was like, awesome. Because we were there for dishwasher soap and yogurt.
Like our ancestors used to.
Like our ancestors.
Would gather.
So we scootled down and we got to the yogurt area and I opened one of the coolers and this woman whooped around the corner and she went, hey, which frightened me a little bit.
I don't respond well to that.
Nothing out of the freezers. And I said, oh, no? And she went, no. It's like, okay. First of all, this isn't a freezer, it's a refrigerator.
Right, and to avoid an argument about semantics, we just kind of put the yogurt back. It was a refrigerated unit. It wasn't a freezer.
I guess the freezer section.
Yeah, maybe.
But I intentionally listened for refrigerators or refrigerated section when we were told where not to shop because I was there for yogurt. So anyway, I felt embarrassed and attacked because the lady at Target yelled at me about yogurt. But I also understand, like, they have to try to keep their goods cold. I just wish that they had said refrigerated section, not just freezer section, because I know it's semantics, but it mattered to me, and then I got yelled at.
We did pick up some dishwashing liquid, and we got to the cash register, and because only 3 of them were open, the line was going to the back of the store, and so we decided to not get anything.
Just like our ancestors. It was very traumatic for me.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the thing. It's not that I was told not to do it. It's that I did a thing I wasn't supposed to do.
Right.
And I didn't know. And so I felt so embarrassed. And I know it's an overreaction, but I have mental problems, you guys.
PTSD. Doesn't help to be yelled at in Target over yogurt refrigeration. Anyway, I'm going to shift gears here. I've got something I want to talk about. Have you ever noticed how weirdly specific some of our human behaviors are?
Yes.
Like how people suddenly start panic buying
yogurt
during a power outage. I'm thinking more toilet paper, like during the pandemic.
Sure.
Or how you can be sitting peacefully on the couch, hear absolutely nothing, and still check your phone every 45 seconds, like a squirrel convinced someone buried a notification in there. Society tells us these are bad habits, that they're personality quirks, or that we're just plain weird. But a lot of these behaviors are, in fact, ancient.
Yeah, I mean, it's survival business.
It is.
Has anything happened that I need to know about?
Don't yell at me about freezers. Some of the odd little things that we do every day may be direct psychological connections with people who lived tens of thousands of years ago. Tiny inherited echoes from human beings who survived ice ages, predators, starvation, tribal warfare. And once you start looking at modern behavior through that lens, everyday life starts to feel a little haunted, but in a very cool way. A recent article in Listverse explored several behaviors that may actually be rooted in survival instincts rather than simple modern habits.
We have talked about this before, but there are lots of examples of it.
Indeed. One of the most common is hoarding. Not television show level hoarding where you have to dig through to get into the room, but just ordinary human difficulty in throwing things away. For example, and you've commented on this many, many times, I have a drawer full of tangled phone chargers and cables. Some of the chargers are for phones they stopped making during the Obama administration, but I still have them.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case. My brain will look at those objects and say, useful, keep, winter is coming, or something like that. For our ancestors, resources disappearing, that was not hypothetical. There were no grocery stores, no Amazon, no refrigerated yogurt. If you found something that would help you survive later, like a tool or some food or animal skin, you kept it because there was a decent chance you would need it when conditions got bad again.
This is a good box.
That's quality cardboard. So when modern humans cling to things, just in case, there's a strong argument that we're not malfunctioning. We're like time travelers carrying Stone Age software.
I fell into a TikTok rabbit hole one time where I discovered that people like me are called jar goblins.
Jar goblins?
Where we collect jars. And it's because it's a good jar.
Yeah.
Some jars aren't good jars. Don't get me wrong.
That's actually an example that they used in this article that I found. Plastic containers that you've lost the lids to, but you keep the container anyway.
No. I want glass. I want it to be symmetrical. I don't need a fancy design. And I want a screw-on lid.
And we've got a cupboard full of them.
I'm a jar goblin.
This actually makes me feel a little bit better about myself. Even procrastination starts to look a little bit differently through this lens. We usually think of procrastination as laziness, but evolutionary psychologists have suggested that humans evolved to conserve energy whenever possible because unnecessary exertion could literally kill you in a harsh environment. So if you were a hunter-gatherer, burning calories pointlessly was a survival risk.
Sure.
Your ancestors who constantly sprinted around reorganizing pebbles for no reason probably did not become your ancestors. Meanwhile, the cautious cave dweller, which I like to think of myself as, sitting near the fire going, maybe we don't climb Murder Mountain today. They had a much better chance of living long enough to reproduce.
When we were in the Caribbean and my friend Erica and I were going swimming with sharks, she popped in, she said hello, she got back onto the boat. And she said, and there was Kat. Far fewer survival instincts, swimming around with the sharks for like a half hour.
It's true. You were like the last one in.
Yeah. And she pointed to that as her having better survival instincts. And I suppose that's true.
Well, I would have to agree with her
Yeah.
on that. And some days your brain operates just like that, like it's ancient software that we're still using. Gossip, another good example. People love pretending that they're above gossip, but humans are built for it. Long before social media, gossip was survival technology. If somebody in your tribe was violent or dishonest or unstable or dangerous, information about that mattered enormously. Whispered conversations helped early humans identify threats, strengthen alliances, and figure out who could be trusted. That's why it is so hardwired. And in a small prehistoric community, reputation could mean the difference between being protected or abandoned. So modern gossip isn't necessarily evidence that civilization is collapsing. It may just be the ancient tribal internet refusing to die.
I think that makes perfect sense. if you have a neighbor who has a specific behavior that you should know about, you gotta share it. You gotta get that tea.
Speaking of tribal behavior, ever notice how uncomfortable humans get around outsiders? Like me, for example, how uncomfortable I get. Or you, when we go to a party, you'll go and pat the dog in the other room.
Strangers, bad.
Studies involving oxytocin, the hormone associated with bonding and trust, have shown that it increases trust within groups while simultaneously increasing suspicion toward outsiders. And that doesn't excuse prejudice or hostility, obviously, because really most humans have evolved to a point where they're capable of reasoning far beyond instinct.
Right.
Sadly, not all, but most. And it does suggest something unsettling. Part of the machinery underneath modern civilization was originally designed for tiny tribes competing over survival, which means your nervous system still occasionally reacts to the world like there are spear-wielding clans hiding behind Target or something, maybe behind the refrigerated yogurt. And then there's the phone thing. Modern humans check their phones compulsively. And that's because our brains are essentially running on prehistoric surveillance system software. Our ancestors survived by paying obsessive attention to their environmental changes. Maybe it was a sound in the bushes, maybe something in the dark they could see, or a shift in bird calls, or the sudden silence of insects. Hypervigilance kept people alive. Now, the same neurological circuitry gets activated by someone liked your photo of soup. And because notifications arrive unpredictably, they trigger what psychologists call a variable reward schedule. It's the same mechanism involved in gambling addiction. Your brain keeps checking because maybe this time it'll be something important.
It was Martha who liked my picture of soup. Of course she did. Isn't she cheating on her husband with a chef?
Oh my God, there you go with the tea. Mm-hmm. But in this case, instead of the warning being tiger nearby, it's more like your package has arrived. But that still creates an intense emotion.
Well, yeah, maybe my package has perishable foods in it.
Some instincts are even stranger. For example, disgust. Why do humans recoil violently at rotten smells, body fluids, moldy food, or infestation? Because, and this is pretty obvious, but it's still fascinating, disgust appears to be a function partly as an evolved disease avoidance system.
Of course.
Your ancestors who casually licked suspicious swamp meat off of rocks probably didn't pass their genes very effectively along the line.
Swamp meat off of rocks?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Suspicious swamp meat. Just meat on a rock in the swamp.
What?
Those were different days. But the human whose brains screamed absolutely not when something smelled rotten, these are the people that survived long enough to become our great, how many ever great-grandparents. Even something like itching and scratching connects back to ancient survival responses. Researchers believe itching evolved partly to help humans detect and remove parasites and insects or irritants from the skin. Mm-hmm. So, in a very real sense, every time you scratch your arm because some invisible sensation has occurred, you may be participating in a defense system older than civilization itself. This is what fascinates me. These aren't just abstract evolutionary theories. These are connections, direct connections. Your body and your brain are museums full of ancient survival tools that never got thrown away. Panic, caution, urge to belong, discomfort around isolation, the love of stories and social information. Some part of you still carrying the emotional fingerprints of people who did huddle around those fires while listening for predators in the dark. As members of the freak family, we should find all of this comforting. I think that a lot of us self-identify as being outside of societal norms. But maybe you aren't. Maybe that's just society telling you that you are. It reframes human weirdness. Maybe we're not as irrational as we think. Maybe we're ancient creatures trying to use inherited survival machinery in a world that our ancestors could not possibly have even imagined. We live in a world with AI, quantum computing, space travel. And yet, somewhere underneath all of this, our nervous system is still listening for wolves. My information came from Listverse and also Wikipedia. I just love those ancient connections that we still carry with us. Well, we certainly live in stressful times, and stress kind of affects everybody differently. With me, I have a hard time sleeping, but not so much anymore because I started using the fine products from Tanasi.
What is Tanasi? All Tanasi products are THC-free and contain a patented CBD and CBDA formula that's 2 times better than CBD alone.
Studies have shown that combination was far more effective than over-the-counter non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like acetaminophen or ibuprofen. It not only helps with any aches and pains, it helps you to stay calm, you can rest, and sleep better.
The Tanasi formula can provide a sense of calm when stress is high, alleviates the discomforts of aches and pains associated with an active lifestyle,
or just getting old like me.
And satisfaction is guaranteed. Try Tanasi products. If you don't love them, you'll receive a full refund.
And there's a full range of product types. It allows you to find the product form that's right for you. Topicals, soft gels, gummies, and tinctures. They're THC-free, but man, do they work.
We've both just started with the soft gels. It's a quick and easy add to our daily routine.
Go to Tanasi.com. Use promo code Oddities. Get 25% off at checkout.
That's TANASI.com to get 25% off your first order with promo code Oddities.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
And now, that thing in the middle.
We love it when brands team up to give us a fun product that's specific to something that we love.
Sometimes it doesn't always work.
For instance, today's thing in the middle. Number 5, Olympic cigarettes.
Like the Olympics?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, the local Olympic Committee licensed a brand of cigarettes called Olympia. It actually was very successful.
Yeah, back then, though, smoking was good for you. I came across an old TV ad for, like, Old Gold or something, and a doctor was puffing away on it saying that it was good for his throat.
Sure.
It's a healthful taste. Here's one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pie. Hostess made a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pie back in 1991.
Huh.
Didn't last too long.
Shocking.
It was a cream pie with green glazed crust. I don't know. Just when you jam the words turtles and pie together.
Cream pie?
Yeah.
Turtle cream pie?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
Number 3, the Titanic board game. This board game lets you step into the shoes of characters Jack, Rose, Cal, Ruth, or even the captain of the ship. And your goal is to save passengers after the Titanic hits an iceberg. Just the thing for a fun family night.
Number 2, Ratatouille Chardonnay. Disney and Costco stopped their plans for Ratatouille Chardonnay back in 2007 that was supposed to feature Remy.
The cartoon rat?
Yeah, after getting criticism from California winemakers and people who don't support underage drinking, they stopped it. Yeah.
And finally, the Kiss casket. In 2001, Kiss came out with a casket that was decorated with their logo and pictures of their band members. Cost around $3,300, only available for about 7 years, though. Limited edition Kiss casket.
Yeah, maybe it's just me, but I would feel uncomfortable being buried in a box with pictures of blood-spitting demons on it. That's just me. Although I love their music.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs. So you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This episode is brought to you by Tidy Cats, here to level up your litter game with their new Performance Plus lineup. Your home is your happy place, your cats, VIPs. So when it comes to the litter box, excellence isn't optional. Choose from products that specialize in max power clumping, low tracking, or odor fighting so advanced, stink won't see it coming. Tidy Cats Performance Plus. Mission mighty, keep it tidy. Shop now at tidycats.com.
The Box of Oddities with Kat and Jethro Gilligan Toth.
You may have heard that sandwiches exist because one guy didn't want to stop playing cards.
Right. The Earl of Sandwich?
Something like that. He wanted food that he could eat during long gambling sessions without using utensils or leaving the table. So meat was placed between bread and blam, the sandwich, all because this guy had a gambling problem. And I think about what other strange little things ended up making a big impact. At first, the Googling was tough because, I couldn't find the exact wording to get another example of exactly this thing. But once I got into the groove, there are so many examples.
Hit me up.
So we've talked about forks at length, you and me.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a meme, a picture of you. We've talked about forks at great length. Cat walls.
Let's get into the butter knife. The butter knife exists because one powerful French cardinal got completely fed up watching people behave like raccoons at dinner. In the early 1600s, table manners in France were aggressive. At meals, guests would stab meat directly from their serving platters. They would jab blades into the table when they needed a free hand. And, most upsetting to Cardinal Richelieu, that sounds French, doesn't it? Cardinal Richelieu pick their teeth with the pointed tips of their knives after eating. Richelieu reportedly found the whole spectacle disgusting. So it was sometime in the 1630s, and he ordered the sharp points of his knives ground off. So instead of using dagger-like tips, the blades ended in smooth, rounded edges. Can't pick your teeth with that.
Yeah. Good luck, fuckers.
It was a tiny design change, but it completely altered the social atmosphere of the table. The new knives discouraged stabbing motions and made toothpicking almost impossible. They transformed dining from something rough and medieval into something more refined. And because this was the household of one of the most powerful men in France, the trend quickly spread across aristocratic society. Soon, rounded knives became fashionable, and it was a real turning point in 1669 when Louis XIV banned pointed knives. Over time, the shape evolved even further. It was found that the rounded ends made spreading butter so much easier.
Oh, that's the truth. I made a peanut butter sandwich and there weren't any clean knives, so I had to use a steak knife. Doesn't spread evenly.
Also, why do we own steak knives?
That's true. I think they came in a set of other cutlery.
Now, this means that one man's quirky disgust at dinner guests eventually became something that changed the way we buy cutlery entirely.
It's funny, isn't it? It's like the story of the history of tablecloths.
Yes.
Essentially, tablecloths were just one giant communal napkin. You'd wipe your face on it when you were done and leave the table.
So then people were like, well, maybe we should just give them cloth to wipe their face with. Napkin. Let's talk about bras.
Baby, let's talk about you and me.
The modern bra was born because one wealthy young woman got sick of being stabbed by her underwear, and her underwear was frankly messing with her outfit. In 1913, Mary Phelps Jacob, a fashionable New York socialite, was preparing for a debutante ball when she ran into a problem familiar to a lot of women of her era. Her corset was ruining the look of her dress. Of course, this time was when we were getting into like really slinky dresses, thin fabrics. It wasn't bulky. It was smooth. And if you had this bulky underwire corset under a smooth, satiny dress, it looked goofy. At the time, women's fashion relied heavily on these rigid corsets. And sometimes they were made of metal, sometimes they were made of whalebone. They were hot, they were restrictive, and they would poke through some fabrics. So, you've got this beautiful evening gown, and then you've got this awkward, clunky corset underneath. Gross. She decided to improvise using 2 silk handkerchiefs and some pink ribbon. With the help of her maid, Jacob created a softer undergarment that supported her bust without the heavy structure of a corset. So instead of forcing her body into a shape, the shape moved with her body. It was lighter, it was more comfortable, more practical, and, crucially for high society, it looked better under the fashionable clothing of the day. Now, almost immediately, other women noticed. Friends began asking for their own versions, and then strangers began asking for theirs. Recognizing that she might be onto something, she patented the design in 1914 under the name backless brassiere and began selling it. Her invention became the first bra to gain widespread public attention. During World War I, corsets began falling out of favor even more dramatically because the government encouraged women to stop buying them. Of course, corsets had a bunch of metal in it, and the government wanted that metal for the war.
That makes sense.
Suddenly, the wire-free brassiere wasn't just fashionable, it was patriotic. So one irritated socialite trying to stop her underwear from visibly attacking her at a party helped dismantle centuries of corset fashion and permanently changed women's clothing around the world.
So it wasn't invented by Otto Titsling? That's what I was told. That's an urban legend?
I guess so.
Okay.
Otto Titsling?
Titsling, yeah. That's what I heard.
Now we're scootling to 10th century Persia. Cavalry soldiers developed a riding shoe that helped them on horseback. It had a raised heel, and it was designed for one very practical reason: stability in the stirrups. The heel helped lock a rider's foot into place while standing in the saddle during combat. It made it easier to fight with swords or arrows on horseback, and it made it so your feet wouldn't flop all over the place while you were riding.
I never thought about that. Of course that's why it was developed.
Right?
Yeah.
As trade and diplomatic contact between Persia and Europe increased in the 16th and 17th centuries, European aristocrats became fascinated with Persian culture, especially its cavalry. Horseback riding was associated with masculinity and nobility and military prowess. So European elites began adopting heeled shoes as a way to imitate that image.
Friggin' posers.
And no one embraced the look more than who? Louis XIV.
Not Otto Titsling?
This king adored heels, particularly elaborately decorated red ones. At his court, heels became a visual shorthand for status, wealth, and authority. The higher and more ornate the heel, the more powerful the wearer appeared. Louis even restricted certain heels to members of his inner court. So it was kind of like a sumptuary law where only certain people of certain stature were allowed to wear certain height heels. Wealthy men strutted around European courts in their silk stockings, their curled wigs, their makeup, and their masculine heels. But fashion eventually shifted. During the Enlightenment and after the French Revolution, men's clothing moved toward practicality and restraint, and flashy aristocratic styles became politically dangerous. I imagine it's similar to how the wigs fell out of fashion because of the wig tax.
Oh, yeah.
Men gradually abandoned heels in favor of simpler footwear, while women continued wearing them as fashion evolved. So the modern stiletto can trace its lineage all the way back to Persian war horses and French kings trying to look intimidating. Which is interesting because that's not a thing of the past. We know modern politicians who wear lifts and wear heels now because of this ancient idea that taller was more masculine or intimidating. I mean, prominent politicians wear lifts, and you can tell. We can tell.
Yeah, you're not fooling anybody.
I got my information from Medium, from Science Lens, womeninventors.com, and of course, Wikipedia.
Well, this episode was chock full of interesting tidbits.
What did you say?
Chock full of interesting tidbits.
Oh, tidbits. Yeah.
Auto Titsling. TheBoxOfOddities.com. That's where you can find out information about The Box of Oddities. You can write to us at curator@theboxofoddities.com.
It's also where you can find the link for merch. Maybe there'll be a new goose-related shirt soon. You never know.
Never know. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.
Until then, keep flying that freak flag.
Fly it proudly, you beautiful freak.
And so, let it be known that the Box of Oddities belongs to you, and its fate is in your hands. Therefore, it's been requested by those to whom I report to beseech you for assistance. We ask but one thing of you, to provide a 5-star rating and a positive review. True, that is 2 things. However, 'tis merely a 5-star rating and a positive review. Also, subscribe to us. Okay, so 3 things is all we ask. 3 things and 3 things only. Henceforth, the Box of Oddities commits to the telling of stories. Stories of the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. We wish to offer our deeply felt gratitude and appreciation for your patronage. TheBoxOfOddities.com. Copyright 2026, all rights reserved.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Grown-ups, if there's a child in your life who is interested in, curious about, or fascinated by people and places from history, then my podcast, The Past and the Curious, might just be a hit in your home. From the invention of microscopes to world-traveling dogs to fashions of the 1890s, gold rush ghost towns, and audiences going wild for walking competitions, we've got a little bit of it all. Hosted by children's author and museum educator Mick Sullivan, that's me, the show is fun, funny, engaging, honest, and beloved by kids and parents alike. Find The Past and the Curious at all the usual podcast places.